Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are here at the panel discussion right at the fag end of the day, and the panel is basically on climate change and its impact on agriculture. Myself, I'm Sanjeeb Mukherjee, and my right, as you know, Mr. Sharma from Skymet. Then I have Ankita Patil Thackery, promoter of Indreshwar Sugar. Then Tushar Patil, managing director of PlanetEye. And right at the end is Sankalp Suman, deputy head, energy and environment, Indian Sugar and Bioenergy Manufacturers Association, which is now ISMA is called. So to start with, Ankita, we have been discussing this outside also, and Mr. Sharma has given a very nice context on how sugarcane and a very positive thing to start that he's saying that monsoons in 2025 looks as of now to be normal. La Nina impact will be there. There will be a fight between ENSO neutral and La Nina, which means, and it is slightly favoring La Nina. And he has declared that La Nina has come, which I think IMD is still slightly skeptical in saying that La Nina has come. So it is a cycle. It is a context that we had a monsoon. We will have expected to have a good monsoon. You are a promoter of a company in sugarcane field, and you have been dealing with this crisis on climate change and impact on sugarcane from a long time. How do you see this panning out? Because if you see, we are in a year in sugarcane where yields are going down, and one reason which many people are saying, I think some panelists also said in the morning, there are reports also that climate change is a reason. We had a very long dry spell, then a very intense wet spell, which is why and Maharashtra is seeing a yield down. And you come from Maharashtra. So what kind of impact are you seeing increasingly of climate change in your sugarcane production cycle? And how do you move in forward? I will like to have this answer from each one of the panelists, and I'll come back to the second question.
Well, a very good afternoon, good evening to everybody, and thank you so much, Mr. Mukherjee, for your question. So, the sugarcane industry, the sugar industry, the ethanol industry, as we all know, now we are heading towards sustainability. But when we speak of sustainability, it is very important to actually have a more backward integration outlook as well. Because today, with the kind of drought situations, untimely rainfall situations that we have in Maharashtra, that we have in India, but we have mills in Maharashtra. So, if I may highlight about the certain issues that we are facing as millers in Maharashtra, is first of all, untimely rainfall, then the soil fertility issues as well. Along with that, I feel the global warming is having an impact not just in the urban areas, but we are experiencing the impact also in the rural belt, where because there is also the water conservation factors. Irrigation facilities also need to be improved, because we have, I think, the older versions at this point of time. So we need new and improved irrigation facility management, which is very, very crucial. And another important factor when it comes to combating climate change is also educating the farmers. Because as a miller, we deal with thousands of farmers during the crushing season. Educating the farmers with new and improved practices, educating the farmers when it comes to improving the soil health is also very, very important. Also, now another current issue in Maharashtra that we are facing is also the reduction in the cane density, which
Okay.
directly impacts the yield as well. So, in totality, when we look at all of these factors, of course, we are looking at ethanol. Of course, we are working on reducing the carbon footprint. We are working on introduction of EV vehicles, and we are speaking of E20 and E30 and E100 blending in the coming years. But also in terms of sustaining the crop is also, I feel, in the coming years very, very important. And it is very crucial. And with the climatic conditions and with global warming, how is it that we can all come together and mitigate uh, the circumstances is, I think, very, very important.
Right. Tushar, what kind of impact you deal basically, as your profile says, you also deal with a lot of technologies, and AI is one of the yields, one of the instruments through which we can always, AI is everywhere. So in in sugarcane, basically, if you're predicting a climate impact of on sugarcane, how can technology be relevant there, and what role can technology play in mitigating those challenges that the sugarcane crop faces from climate change?
Yes, Sanjeeb. So, as for particularly sugarcane, we daily use artificial intelligence for data processing and identification of many traits of the sugarcane. We are actually identifying little different phenomenon over here. First, let me tell one thing that though here we are discussing climate change in many negative impact, but I will tell you a little different thing. Whenever the climate change is there, there is an increase in CO2. And CO2 act as a fertilizer for all C4 plants. So over here, there is an increase in biomass. And that is actually being observed. Everywhere if we see, there is a decrease in sucrose content, but there is an increase in biomass. So though the climate change will occur and it will increase the CO2, the CO2 will act as a fertilizer. For particularly many C4 plants, it is happening, isn't it? So this is first impact actually we are observing. Interestingly, what our AI processes tell us, now this is little dangerous, that every crop is having a vegetative growth span and a productive span. For sugarcane, say for suru plantation, it is a 12-month span. Out of that, first 8 months is for your vegetative span, and for the next 4 months is for your maturity or productive span. What we are identifying that the sugarcane plant is not able to identify when should I stop my vegetative growth and when should I enter into the productive span. That is one of the dramatic conditions we are observing from the last 4 years. We have identified some causes for that purpose also, and we got the idea due to the humidity more than 60%, as well as every time what are the key performing districts are there for sugarcane. In every districts there are rainfall either in a less or more. So sugarcane is now in little dilemma, particularly the metabolic pathway of sugarcane is having a problem that it doesn't understand that I want to go into the maturity. Why maturity or productive phase? There and there only the sucrose formation will occur. Otherwise, it will remain as a biomass. This actually we are identifying by using many satellite indices, and this is a little, I can't say erratic, but strange phenomenon we are actually observing. These two things I definitely want to add over here.
Right. Sankalp, you represent ISMA. ISMA is one of the pioneers in sugar industry, and they are one of the most, means you can say one of the most trusted bodies as far as the sugar industry is concerned. From your perspective, sugarcane crop has its own carbon footprint. Sugarcane crop is blamed for a lot of things, as a water guzzler, as a crop which consumes one of the maximum amount of water. It is not an environmentally very sustainable crop. In such a situation, what is your perspective from that? There are varying reports that sugarcane is actually not a very bad crop at all. I mean, there are reports which show it does not consume as much as water as people have been saying so far. From that perspective, where do you see the impact having in climate change, and what can be your suggestion to the industry to move forward on this?
Thank you for having me here, and thank you for the question. Before I'll just come to your question, just building on to the very excellent point that Sir has made. Since we've also been discussing weather patterns and weather prediction patterns throughout the day, I just wanted to point out that, in 2015, in the Paris Agreement, we had come together to say a 1.5 degree temperature rise
Yes.
till 2100, which on an average we had 1.5 rise in 2023 as well as 2024 we were 1.5. So in 8-9 years we have achieved the target that we had set
100 years.
for 85 years
Yes.
ago. So an interesting thing that comes out of the weather pattern analysis, particularly when you look at this example, is that last year every single analysis that was there was predicting a rise of 1.2 to 1.3, but there was, or even 1.3, 1.35, but no one was going up till 1.5 last year. And everyone was quite surprised by the end of the year how we were able to cross 1.5 as an average. What we realized was that, because environment by definition, it means everything that surrounds us. So
Yes.
when we say that we are in an environmental crisis, we say that everything around us is in crisis. The sun rays that come, whether it's the Arctic sheet or the low-lying clouds above the ocean, they reflect a lot of the heat back as the sunlight is coming. As the groundwater and the surface temperature starts heating up, these low-lying clouds also dissipate, and therefore there is a negative reverse effect which no one predicted. And therefore, similarly, now coming to sugarcane, similarly there are a lot of other crises that are also coming up that we are yet to record and register. The last 10 years have been lucky from a climate perspective, in the sense that most of the emissions that we have made above the normal levels has also been 50% of has been absorbed back by the oceans or the forests, but now they are at the breaking point. So the next 10 years will be very crucial. We are in a situation right now where the Amazon forest is not a net sink of carbon, but a net emitter of carbon dioxide. So we are entering into this situation where sugarcane, particularly since it's a climate-centric, climate-facing crop, as you said, that there are a lot of assumptions made on water guzzling of the sugarcane crop. Although we just, as ISMA, we did a study with ISR, and we showed that sugarcane is actually, when you look at the amount of ethanol you make compared to various feedstocks, sugarcane is the most water efficient crop. But having said that, it does not mean that sugarcane does not require water, or it is not dependent. It's going to be quite largely affected by climate change. We saw this year everyone was expecting a much higher yield in Uttar Pradesh because the rains were very good. But what happened was that the intensity of the rainfall, the same rain that was going to happen in 30 days happened in 3 days, and therefore that affected. So while the rain content is good, but the rain timing, etc., these factors also affect the crop. So in that case, sugarcane is extremely vulnerable in India as well, whether it is the temperature rise to the workers that are working in the field, and their safety and security, or their even their faculties operating in such heat waves. That is a question. There are a lot of pests and a lot of other diseases that the sugarcane crop gets because of climate change. That is a question. As sir said, there's going to be more biomass because more CO2 is concentrated. However, that is not going to reflect in the sucrose content. And therefore, I feel that, at ISMA, what we are trying to do is we're trying to make this a climate change, one, a very important business proposition, because when we look at it from an industrial perspective, yes, climate change is very important, and but it's happening to all of us, so that urgency keeps shifting unless and until there are direct business linked incentives. And one of the most important incentives that I think we can give to Indian businesses, especially to sugarcane, is by connecting climate change with bioenergy. Okay. We say, and the bioethanol program of India has been done with various things in its mind. Farmer incomes being one of the central points, forex savings being one of the central points. But the linkage of carbon savings from biofuels is something that is still missing from the mainstream narrative. Whether we report it in our NDC reportings as per the Paris Agreement, we're not sure yet. And what is happening is, when you look at other markets, for example, Brazil, which has a system called Renewable Bio, which gives carbon credits for the ethanol producers on basis of what they're able to decarbonize. That way, they're able to record how much carbon they're saving, as well as incentivize the industry to further decarbonize their processes. So now what Brazil is doing, because of Renova Bio, they're using CBG tractors, etc., and using biogas in their fields to cut down their carbon footprints further. Brazil's per cap CI is 22, carbon intensity is 22. India does not have that number yet. The US has that number. So ISMA is doing this research with Terry to obtain a similar number for India. But the interesting, and my last point here, is that Brazil aims for a minus 16 carbon intensity number for their ethanol. They were just here last week with the delegation, and they told me they're planning for a minus 16. We are quite behind when you look at that, because as of now, I'm sure we are emitting less carbon than Brazil, because we also have a manual harvesting component in our operations, but we are not capitalizing on that. Yes. However, when you look at sustainable aviation fuel and other emerging biofuels that are coming up, which are very important market opportunities, including in driving prices for Indian farmers, by not linking our biofuels with carbon, or not putting carbon-linked incentives like US does in Inflation Reduction Act or in Renova Bio in Brazil, we are actually missing out on a very important advantage that we have, and also not preparing the industry for what is going to come, and very, very strongly so in the next 10 years.
That's a wonderful point you made, Sankalp, that we are not making industry ready for capitalizing on the kind of uh, carbon savings, credit savings that the sugar industry does through using bioethanol. And also, I have lately heard that something called bioplastics is another byproduct which is coming up, which is again another thing which saves your carbon footprint. This thing is a very efficient way of using sugar. Uh, Dr. Sharma, I'll come back to you on this environment thing and the climate change aspect again. There are three main regions where sugarcane is grown in this country: Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Karnataka in the order of preference. One or two keeps on changing. Environmentally, these three are Maharashtra. We have a lot, somewhat irrigation facility. Uttar Pradesh also, in parts where it is grown, irrigation is there. Karnataka also. How will the climate? I know it's very philosophical to talk that in three regions how will the climate be, but overall what could be the climate impact changes in the sugarcane crop should be, or a sugarcane miller should be expecting? If I say I'm a miller and I ask you that from 5 years down the line, what will be my challenges from the climate if I have to face, so how will you address that?
Out of these pockets which you mentioned, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Karnataka, I always felt Maharashtra remains vulnerable. Pockets like Vidarbha and Marathwada, especially so Marathwada, it has been a drought-prone pocket.
Yes.
Fortunately, it has behaved. The last monsoon, it has behaved, and possibly before that also. But then, this remains a state of Maharashtra. Firstly, on one side, it is landlocked. On the other side, it's open to the sea coast.
Yes.
Conditions vary largely. You talk of Madhya Maharashtra, Konkan region, in any case, there are plenty of rains. Even if there is a shortfall of 10%, 15%, we can still survive.
Yes.
But then look at difference between Madhya Maharashtra and the Konkan, and go further eastward, Vidarbha and Marathwada, and particularly I've been watching Marathwada. There has been plenty of fluctuations. The state always keeps us on the tenterhooks. Also, that is one which is a rain-fed pocket, core monsoon zone, which is rain-fed. If the rains are not sufficient, I think the states start, it's in a lurch. So the El Nino conditions, the La Nina conditions, they play a large role. Whenever El Nino conditions are there, they punish largely state of Maharashtra. Definitely.
Okay.
South gets spared to some extent.
Okay.
Okay. But then, fortunately, as I said now, it is not going to be a La Nina year, 2025.
Okay.
La Nina is going to recede now.
Right.
Okay. It's a very, very unusual. Actually, La Nina or El Nino, they never come up around this time.
Right.
The normal time for start is about April. The peak is sometime in September, October.
What you call spring barrier, right?
Spring barrier is when the spring season now.
Right.
The spring barrier is the prediction becomes very difficult because it's a spring barrier, so it could alter, it could change. Okay. So, and they start fading sometime end of the year or fall of the year or December or so. This is a very unusual event which we are having at this moment, this La Nina. And that is how it is going to be short and sweet. It is going to be the shortest on record, this particular event.
Okay.
Okay. Earlier it has been for 6 months, at least 5 months. This is going to be the shortest. But as I said, answer neutral conditions will set it. That's around the start of the monsoon itself. And as we go halfway through the monsoon, if the models are correct, I hope they give us good guidance. The second half of the monsoon, that should be better than the first half.
Okay.
Okay. Overall, yes, it should not deceive us. It should behave. And with that in mind, I think 2025, even the state of Maharashtra, Karnataka in any case, Karnataka, I feel that that stands a good chance to have good rains. And behaving, the NCO cycle also, state of Maharashtra also should remain good for the third consecutive year. But then you talked about Uttar Pradesh region. There's a large difference between the eastern half and the western half. So much of eastern half is more like Bihar, and Jharkhand, they have perpetually been the deficit pockets in the last two monsoon seasons.
Yes.
The rains last to last year picked up only in September.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a too late and too little. It doesn't suffice. And so it happened even the last monsoon year also. There was a large deficiency. East Uttar Pradesh had large deficiency. West Uttar Pradesh was better off. So there is always a bargain. It's very difficult to predict about state of Uttar Pradesh in toto. But East Uttar Pradesh always remains more vulnerable than West Uttar Pradesh, logically so, because the monsoon systems which they form in the Bay of Bengal and the move inland, they are more favorable for Chhattisgarh, start with Odisha, Chhattisgarh, and then go on further to East Madhya Pradesh, and then go on and go up to West Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh.
Right.
Okay, East Uttar Pradesh is a left-out pocket, even during best of the seasons also. So I won't commit anything as far as the East Uttar Pradesh is concerned, but the other parts, even West Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana, I think they should be behaving decently.
Right. So I think that's a big message for people, for millers in Vidarbha and East Uttar Pradesh, that your days are going to be hard, even if it's a good monsoon. But overall, your predictions are very positive, I must say. And as I said, that it's a good news for everyone if monsoon comes out to be good for two. It will be second consecutive year of a very good monsoon rain. Ankita, coming to you, means one problem we always see is in Uttar Pradesh there is a lot of problem of stem rot disease. The crop is highly vulnerable to the disease now. This thing, though we had varieties which could take care of that. So my question to you is from the point of view of sugar mills, should the mills now look at breeding or putting with the farmers more varieties, or pushing farmers varieties which have traditionally not been grown, though there is a risk of your yield losing, or you don't know how the crop will come out to be. But is it the right time to now for the mills to take a proactive measure to come out or invest in varietal development, which many mills are doing, as I understand?
So in Maharashtra, we have the VSI, which is the Vasantdada Sugar
Yes.
Institute, who primarily, it's a very prestigious organization who's into researching where, in terms of these seed varieties, in terms of newer technologies that farmers can adapt, and they actually play a very important role. They also are into consulting. Alongside that, we also have the ICSR. I think one of the previous sessions when Mr. Tamak also mentioned he works here closely with the ICSR in terms of the cane varieties that are uh, will be high yielding cane varieties, which will sort of help mitigate the losses, which will help increase the density. So those are widely being researched on, and introduction of these varieties in, especially like Sir just mentioned, in Maharashtra, there are these certain areas, be it Vidarbha, be it the Solapur district. We also have one mill in the Solapur district where it is challenging because it's very difficult at times to even make actual predictions, because until and unless we are 50% into the crushing season, it's very difficult to predict how much we are going to crush. So this experience we personally also have, and the experience we have with the farmers there vis-a-vis the experience we have with the farmers, be in Pune district where we also have two sugar mills, and also when we speak with the farmers in the Kolhapur belt. So every belt has a different story, different experiences, and introducing these varieties of cane which are eventually going to help increase the yield is definitely going to be, I think, the way forward when it comes to for the sugar industries to thrive, for improving the sustainability and to reduce the carbon footprint in totality. And also when it comes to another major important factor is, like I already mentioned, is focusing on the soil health, because the farmers also need to be educated in every respect, in every aspect, because they are the ones who are the main suppliers. So once the farmers are well versed with the varieties, well versed with the newer techniques, that's when they will be able to provide good quality cane to the mills, and that's how eventually the crushing will improve, the yield will improve.
Right. Tushar, if I come to means you have been working with farmers as well on the ground. Means your company does work. So, how does is the response from the farming side? Are they more acceptable to change? Do they like new varietal breeds and this thing, or they're slightly apprehensive in the initial time to come? Because
Yeah, it's a very nice question. Farmers are more smarter than us. They already has changed the practices. Now, every month, farmers are planting. And actually, I will tell you one simple example about that before this question. Because 86032 variety, which is the most successful variety, which is being considered still now, still at the whole of India, 55% of area is being covered. I want to tell you that this variety was developed for jaggery production, not for sugar production. But at the moment, we are using it for sugar production, and that is due to farmers. Because farmer has found that I can use this variety for sugar production as well as jaggery production, isn't it? So, from last 7 years, farmer has changes their practice completely. I will give one simple example. Adasali, that is a 18-month plantation of the sugarcane, which actually being start in the June month. Normally they start from 1st June, July, and August they finished it. Now, that has been extended up to October end. And a pre-seasonal variety. Now farmers are pushing to the sugar factories to go for the pre-seasonal variety. That means they are telling that you should purchase the sugar cane which is having more than 15 months old. So Suru plantation is going to get decreased. Kodwa is definitely going, Ratun crop is going to get hampered over there. So farmer don't want to lose sugarcane crop. Whenever there will be rain, he wants to plant sugarcane, and they are identifying their own practices. I just want to address this question before that. What we have seen that cane development program is very, very important.
yes,
It's one of the most important, because why Brazil and India is having the difference, the varieties Brazil is releasing and what the varieties we are having, definitely we are lacking there. So if we take the measure on that side also, we can mitigate the major risk of climate change or other these sorts of effects, because the root development of all existing varieties are now hampering due to the salt stress conditions. That is a natural phenomenon we are observing. It has to be done, or we must have to done in the next 5 years.
right. Sankal, if you have the last word from ISMA's side, what kind of intervention programs are you proposing, or you looking at, or a breed development? ISMA does a lot of breed development work with the farmers. I understand.
So ISMA is already with SBI Coimbatore developing quite a lot of varieties that do take into account climate resilience and the other water consumption and other things that we are facing. But I think speaking from a policy perspective, because that's somewhere that ISMA is focusing on, especially in sustainability. India is a founder of the Global Biofuels Alliance,
Yes.
and sugarcane will increasingly play a very important role. Today we see the carbon footprint of sugarcane ethanol is roughly 1/3 of grain ethanol, because cogeneration etc. is being used in sugar mills, and therefore this linkage of carbon emissions and carbon reductions with the sugar that we are producing, as well as the biofuel that we are producing, both are linked, must be there. It will incentivize the industry quite a lot in terms of thinking further on how to decarbonize. Otherwise, it's just, if it remains some European standards or mandates like CBAM that we have to follow that are not coming from within, it will not be done with that zest also. So for us to prepare with what is to come, and I don't want to sound like a doomsday prophet, but I think after this there is drinks, so people can have some good reason to drink also. But we must create market-based incentives. We've seen the kind of money and mobilization the industry has put up because of ethanol. If we link it with environment, we'll be making around 55 million farmers in India climate resilient also.
Yes.
So that should be the goal that we should all keep in mind.
Fantastic. I think that's much time I have. And do we have time for some questions, or I think we are just running short of it. We are already 6:15. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Sharma. Thank you, Ankita. Thank you. I have just one question from just one question. Then for the sake of audience, just one question. If I can just somebody can pass on the mic to her, Or you can come, I can hand you over my mic.
Can we pass on a mic very quickly? Or
Hi, my name is Ria. I'm the co-founder of a business that produces biochar. We repurpose cane trash, so it's circular, it's an entirely carbon negative process, and it's an incredible soil amendment, so it addresses problems of climate resilience. We've spoken with quite a few millers and growers. All decision making today is still purely commercial. When and how do we make sustainability and looking at like the impact of climate change a part of the core fundamental decision making process for the sugar industry, and how important do you think this will be in the near future?
Do you want anyone specific to answer? Anybody can answer.
Yeah, I think Ankita ji, since she's a miller and deals with a lot of these challenges.
So, to imbibe sustainability for millers, it's a constant process. Now that we have now ethanol, which initially was a byproduct, is become one of the major products. And the reason with the way the government has been promoting ethanol, the way millers have, gone ahead and imbibed the ethanol policy in their system and processes, it is a step towards sustainability. But like I said, I mean, it has to be a backward integration process. It can't just be the millers. It has to come from the original source, which is the farmers. And it is our role, together with several institutes that are based in India, which is VSI, which ICSR, which is also SBI, all of them, when it comes to actually introducing the seed variety, which will help sort of mitigate the losses because of climate change, mitigate the impact which we have because of climate change, also in terms of the water resource management. Because today, if you see one increase of 1 degree in temperature results in decline of, I mean, this is an actual statistic, which means 20% decline in production. So that is actually the ratio. So that's why all of these factors are very, very important. But from the miller's perspective, it is a complete ongoing process in every step of the way. How we imbibe sustainability, how is it that, what are the measures we take in order to reduce the carbon footprint?
Right. Thank you, Ankita. And with this, we come right at the end of the session. Thank you, Mr. Sharma. Thank you, Ankita. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Tushar, and thank you, Sankalp. And with this, I wind up. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
all right, with this, we conclude the last and the final session for the day. I would like to thank this incredible set of speakers for keeping us glued in till the very end and for sharing your valuable thoughts, your perspective, and your viewpoints. Thank you so much for that. And I would like to welcome on stage Mr. Manohar Joshi to join us and felicitate the last and the final panel for the day. And let's conclude our audience. I think we can make it a little louder. Let's begin with the moderator, Mr. Sanjeeb Mukherjee. AVM GP Sharma. I think we can keep continuing the clapping. This is our last session. We will be inviting you all to join us for high tea after this. Miss Ankita Patil Thackery. Let's give it up for the lady, everyone. Let's give her a huge round of applause. Mr. Tushar Patil. And lastly, Mr. Sankalp Suman. Thank you so much, Mr. Joshi. I'll request everyone to take center stage for a group photograph. We can all come a little forward.